Oh, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Sports Reality. My name is Jeremy John, here to bring to you all things sports. We have a great show prepared for you. We're going to talk about NBA playoffs, the Major League Baseball season that's heating up. There's some NFL news going on. And also, we are going to speak to Craig Laughlin, the color analyst for the Washington Caps on Comcast Sportsnet Mid-Atlantic. We're going to talk about the Caps and their unfortunate dismissal from the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. Let's welcome my man Max in the building. Max,
What's happening?
how's everything, man?
It's excellent, man. It's excellent. I can't complain. Moving and grooving.
That's what's up. So, big game tonight.
Yup. You see, I wore my shirt just for you.
Big game tonight. I see. He has a world champions 1984
84.
Boston Celtics, man.
Just to troll.
So for at least the next 12 hours, we're going to beef for the next 12 hours about the Wizards and the Celtics. So we're going to get into all of that. Today, let's start off with today in sports history. Today is May the 15th. By the way, happy, I guess, late Mother's Day to all the mothers and mother figures out there. Max, did you do anything this weekend?
Yeah, I went to see After 7 yesterday in Bethesda.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah. And yeah, that was excellent.
Yeah,
How about yourself?
Oh, go ahead.
How about yourself?
Oh, we had I guess brunch at home and then did nothing the rest of the day, and my mother was fine with that because she was like, "I'm good."
Yeah, that's official.
We try to take her out, and she's like, "No, it's gonna be too crowded. Like, I'm good. We can stay home, get something, eat something here." And my parents are actually traveling right now, so so that's part of the reason why we didn't want to go out. But today, May the 15th, 2017, on May the 15th, 1862, Brooklyn's Union Grounds opened. It was the first enclosed baseball park. That's interesting. So I guess I've seen photos of old baseball stadiums, and yeah, they were not enclosed. It was just like the grass was wide open and fans were just out in the outfield, just sitting there. So that makes sense. 1926, the New York Rangers were officially granted a franchise in the NHL. The NHL also announced that Chicago and Detroit will be joining the league in November. And that's when people talk about the original six. Those are some of the teams that joined to create the NHL. 1935, the Pittsburgh Pirates beat the Philadelphia Phillies 20-5 on this day. In 1935, 1941, Joe DiMaggio began his Major League Baseball hitting streak of. You remember how many games, Max? How many consecutive games did he get a hit?
Man, I don't even remember. About 50-11.
It was 56.
Yeah.
Yeah, 56 consecutive games, which is still a record to this day. 1965, the Canadian Football Players Association was organized. 1973, Nolan Ryan of the California Angels pitched his first no-hitter. 1980, the U.S. Basketball League canceled its summer schedule. 1993. Let's go to 95. Vancouver Canucks set an NHL playoff record when Christian Ruutu and Jeff Courtnall scored shorthanded goals only 17 seconds apart. That is impressive to score shorthanded goals. Not just shorthanded goals during the playoffs, and to then do it twice, 17 seconds apart from each other. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. And just last year, Rougned Odor of the Texas Rangers and Jose Bautista. Do you remember that little brawl they had last year, Max?
That was last year, huh?
Yeah, that was a year ago.
Yeah.
Man, I remember that, and I remember because last year, around this time, it'll be a year from tomorrow. I was getting on the plane to go on vacation, and they were showing that all in the airport, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like this is crazy. Like these guys out here brawling. That's probably the last big brawl. When it comes to sports brawls, which is one that you will always remember, Max?
Shoot, the Artest joint.
Yeah, that one will always be a big one, and that was pre-social media.
Yeah.
That was pre-social media, so some people didn't even know it happened until like a day later.
Yeah, exactly. And then YouTube comes around, and then like years and years later.
Exactly.
That was a
YouTube
moment.
comes out like
that
a
was
year
moment.
after that.
Yeah.
So yeah, when it happened, if you didn't see it live, you didn't really see it. You're just seeing the little clips here and there. And the NBA is really good at making sure that footage does not last on YouTube long.
Yeah.
So like you'll put in a fight, you'll just see the regular highlight that they chop up and they put together from the telecast, from like the Sports Center telecast. However, about like 3 years ago, I was on YouTube and I happened to find like the full length
thing.
It was like 12 minutes long, from when it like actually happened to when the game was officially called, and then they went straight to the NBA TV post-game show with young Stephen A. Smith there.
Yeah.
And everyone on the cast was just like, yo, I can't believe this just happened.
So that happened.
And yeah, it was crazy, man. It was I mean, a fan started it, and unfortunately started it with the wrong person, Ron Artest.
Yeah, he wasn't having it.
Was not having it.
Queensbridge came through in a real way.
Yep. And the thing about it is that was not the first time Ron Artest had something thrown at him during a game.
Nah.
So I think that was just like, this ain't gonna happen again. Just a year prior, a fan that was sitting courtside had thrown some pennies at him.
I don't remember that part.
Yeah, that one wasn't a big thing,
yeah.
but because the fan had threw a penny at him, and then like a couple possessions down, they threw a penny again, and he started walking toward the fan, and the referees and security got into it real quick, but nothing really happened.
Yeah.
But then a year later, of course, Malice at the Palace. That was a huge.
That was something
huge.
I think he gets a bad rap though, man. I like you said, the fans started it, and it was what it was. And like I don't know, it's
and it did spiral out of control. Ron Artest went in the stands. Steven Jackson went out there, and he was just like, "Look, I'm about to protect my man," and he was out there smashing people. And then you had fans who actually made it onto the floor.
Yeah,
and there was. I remember those two. Do you remember those two guys that actually approached Artest on the floor?
Yeah, exactly.
And like one of them, Artest punched, and then Jermaine O'Neal came and cleaned out the other one.
Yeah,
and it was just like
it was just a mess. And then he's like laying on the bench. And
they had called the game, and then Ron Artest after the game in the locker room, he asked a teammate. I can't remember who the teammate was. I think it was it wasn't Steven. Yes, it was Steven Jackson. He had asked Steven Jackson, "Hey, do you think we're gonna get suspended for this?" And Steven Jackson said he was so calm when he asked the question, like, "Yo, so do you think we're gonna get suspended?"
This is my favorite story. Magic 8 Ball says possibly.
Yeah, and little did he know he was gonna be out the rest of the year. That really changed the landscape of not just that season. It changed the team. The Pacers, because the Pacers were the best team in the NBA at that time. That was 2004 to 2005, so they would have been going up against potentially the Pistons, and that season would have been the Spurs. And honestly, I think they could have beat a Spurs team if they had Artest the entire year, because Artest was suspended the entire year. Jermaine O'Neal was suspended for I think 10 games, and Steven Jackson for like 20 games. And if they had all three, you never know.
Yeah.
And then after that, Artest had to be shipped out, and then
Yeah.
Players started moving around, but that team was really good. Max, we're going to play a little catch here. Take a look at this, Max. We're going to play a little catch here. Let's move on right now to some of the... Let's move on to Major League Baseball news. Bryce Harper. of the Washington Nationals signed a 1-year deal. A 1-year deal for 2018 worth $21+ million to remain with the team for 1 more year, and then he'll be eligible. He'll be a free agent for 2019. I think it's a good sign that Harper will be staying in Washington D.C. He's always kind of hinted that he wanted to be, highly paid. But he's also, when he came into the league, he did make it known, hey, he grew up a New York Yankees fan. And we all know what the Yankees do. The Yankees, they pay players big money. And they seem to always get players on their second and third contracts to come and play for them. But the Nationals are getting better. They're playing pretty well. The Nationals organization easily could have just said, you know what? Nah, we're not really into. We're not going to try and pay you big bucks right now. We're going to try and play this out and then see what happens. I think it's a good sign that they're already signing him for 2018, just giving like a 1-year extension, and then during this time they can, possibly sign a long-term deal. Bryce Harper just last season said he wanted a contract that would be 10 years, $400 million. Max, you think he's worth 10 years, $400 million?
I don't know. It depends. He apparently thinks so, but get your money, man.
I definitely believe he is worth 10 years, $400 million. Giancarlo Stanton just 2 years ago, he signed, I think it was like a 10-year, $325 or $350 million contract. And I do believe Giancarlo Stanton is not better than Bryce Harper. Giancarlo's really good. I don't think he's just not better than Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper's just a better all-around player. Better hitter. Better defensive player.
So market rate, then yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we remember the Alex Rodriguez contract years ago when he got that 10-year, $250 million, and everyone was like, "Whoa!" But Alex Rodriguez was, looking back at it, he was kind of worth it. And
he was probably worth it for them.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I do believe that Bryce Harper, that contract, I think the Nationals just need to give it to him. Give it to him, because if Bryce Harper walks from this team, you might as well start all over again. I understand you got Daniel Murphy here and Ryan Zimmerman, and you have great pitchers like Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg. However, Bryce Harper is the guy people come to see. He is who the fans, even the casual fans who have jerseys in this city, those are who they're supporting. They know Bryce
he puts
Harper.
The butts in the seats.
Yeah. And I remember days when Nats Park, which can hold 45,000, had 15,000 in the stands because there was no attraction. But now with Bryce Harper being here for several years and playing well, not just playing well, he won the MVP award 2 years ago. I mean, he is the man. He's one of the most popular baseball players. And when you have that player in your town, you make sure you keep him, especially in baseball where there's no hard salary cap. Mm-hmm. I understand I'm spending someone else's money. It's always easy to spend someone else's money. But the Lerners, that family, they're buku rich. They're tycoons. So, I mean, make sure Bryce Harper stays here. Make sure this team stays together. Not just stays here. Make sure you treat him well so it's not a toxic environment that he feels like, man, you really tried to, cheat me out of my money, and now I'm going to, bring it onto the field. I'm going to be kind of disgruntled. No, make sure he's happy. If you make sure he's happy, other players are going to fall in line. They're going to be like, all right, they treated him well. They're going to treat me well. Let's keep it moving. Last night was Derek Jeter night. Were you happy it was Derek Jeter night at Yankee Stadium, Max?
I wasn't checking for it.
I know you weren't checking for it.
I wasn't checking for it. But he did his thing, man, and it's he's a great ball player regardless. I can admit that, even if I'm not the biggest Yankees fan.
Yeah, Derek Jeter had his number 2 jersey retired at Yankee Stadium last night. That was the big news, the good news. Yankees got smacked. I think it was like 11 to something. First 2 innings, the Astros had already scored 7 runs. But Derek Jeter got his number 2 jersey retired. Phenomenal career, 5-time world champion, MVP a couple times. He was an MVP for the World Series one time. 3,000 plus hits. Had a decent amount of home runs, clutch plays. I mean, what is one Derek Jeter play that you remember, Max?
I don't know. I remember him getting into it with the Sox, honestly.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and they hated him, man. They was not messing with him.
And the thing about it, it was big hate. But when he was coming down to the end of his career, and his last game at Fenway, the fans definitely they paid their respects. They were like, you're really good. You're a real competitor. Like you're an enemy, but we
There
can
was some
respect.
sportsmanship.
Yeah. Same thing with Big Papi last year when he last trip to Yankee Stadium. Man, the fans are really, really, really respectful. Derek Jeter, in my opinion, is a baseball great. There's so many of them. He's one of the greatest. He's definitely remembered for his off the field things too. When I say off the field, mostly his relationships with women.
I was gonna say, man, he as a man, like he had some talent. Like you can't hate on him. You know what I mean? He had a good stable.
Yeah, he some very good young ladies he's been with.
Yeah.
He does have not anymore because he is married, I think, or at least engaged to the model. I know he mentioned he has a daughter on the way because she's pregnant. Last night he was talking about that on the ESPN telecast, but he had a basically he would give his women gift bags after a night of adventure, if you want to say it that way. And how people found out was he actually was with one woman twice and didn't know. Like years apart from each other. So she was like, hold on, I got another Derek Jeter gift bag.
What was in the gift bag?
The gift bag is like you get a signed baseball by Derek Jeter. That was the main thing. I can't remember what else was in it. I'm gonna try and Google.
It's like a thing of Cracker Jacks and a sign baseball by Jeter and like some lube.
Let me look at that. Derek Jeter gift bag. Let's Google this right here. Derek Jeter gives autograph swag to one night stands. Gift bag. Let me.
So that like kind of like he's kind of a dick for that. Like you gotta call it what it is, man.
Oh man, what's in the gift bag? Let me get to it. If I can find it somewhere on this page. Definitely the baseball is autographed. It's not really explaining what else is with the gift bag, but the main attraction is the autographed baseball.
Yeah.
And how the general public found out was because one young lady was like, "Hold on, I got another one. Is this just what?"
It's just what you do.
She thought she was special.
Yeah.
Because she was like, "Oh, I got an autographed baseball," and then realized, "Hold on, this happened again."
Just peak narcissism.
Hey, but Derek Jeter, man, one of the greatest baseball players to ever play the game. It segues to our next topic. In April, there was a poll that was put out by ESPN. It was only 6,000 people who participated in the poll, but the most popular, the poll was the favorite athletes in the U.S., and Derek Jeter was the highest ranked baseball player.
He did that.
The second highest rated baseball player was Babe Ruth.
Okay.
And then third highest was Pete Rose.
Was Pete Rose?
Yes. Now, you want to know what the commonality with what the common trend is with those three athletes? They're all retired. The first active player on the list was at number 51, and that was
Oh.
Anthony Rizzo of the Chicago Cubs.
Okay.
And then it was Bryce Harper after,
Yeah.
somewhere after 51.
After 51.
Yes.
It's a cold game.
So it brings an interesting question. What is the popularity with baseball? Like, is there like why isn't there more popular players in baseball right now? We're talking about the most popular. I understand it was 6,000 individuals, smaller sample size than the actual population in the U.S., but still a decent sample size. You had the highest ranked player was Derek Jeter, retired. Then Babe Ruth, dead. Pete Rose, retired. Compared to now, number one was Michael Jordan, retired. Understandable. But LeBron James was in the top 10 for basketball. Tom Brady was in the top 10 for football.
Yeah, that's a good point then.
And there were some hockey players that were above the first active player, like Sidney Crosby was up there.
got
Patrick
you.
Kane
Okay.
was above the first active baseball players. And then someone made an interesting point with Anthony Rizzo. The Cubs had just won the World Series last year. Would he have been one of the most popular players on this list if the Cubs hadn't won?
If they hadn't won.
So it's really interesting. But still, to be ranked 51 of all athletes, where your first active player is 51, baseball really has a big issue with marketing players. It's like they market the history of baseball more than
That's what I was gonna say.
Than
It's like it's
the
kind
players
of
right
it's
now.
more of a nostalgic sport. I
Exactly.
think that like it's all about tradition and the old ones. I think some of the ceremonies are bigger. They had the Paul Pierce tribute the other day at Inglewood High out in L.A. and I didn't hear hardly anyone talk about that. You know what I mean? Because the NBA, like there's so much action going on. That's like not saying there's not in the MLB, but I think it's a little different spectrum of nostalgia.
yes, definitely. If you
That's
could,
a great point.
Yes, yeah. If you could
Yeah.
make that, yeah. So, yeah, I think that's the issue right now with baseball. They're just not marketing players. As much as I've spoken about Bryce Harper, how great he is, he was not even ranked in the top 50 of athletes in America. So that is one big thing. And there's Bryce Harper. There's Clayton Kershaw. There's you have guys like Max Scherzer, Yoenis Cespedes, Jose Altuve, and guys like that who are definitely big names. They're good players, but the general public just doesn't know. And I think one thing that baseball needs to do is try and get these guys in commercials on television. For example, when you watch an NFL game, there's going to be commercials of LeBron James or like Paul George or other star basketball players. Same thing with you're watching an NBA game. There's going to be NFL commercials with NFL players and things like that. They need to learn how to actually get these players to be marketable. So that's the one thing with baseball right now. Let's move on right now to talk about the NHL Stanley Cup players. And I do want to welcome the color analyst for the Washington Caps for Comcast Mid-Atlantic, Craig Lachlan. Craig, how's everything with you? Okay, all right. Just give me 1 second. You said sun is shining. Is that what you said?
Pardon me, I couldn't hear you.
Okay, I hear you loud and clear right now. How's everything? Craig.
I got you now.
All right. Welcome to the show. How's your day going?
Good, my man. Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, thank you for finding the time. Just want to, introduce you. You were on the show just last season with us. That was the last time you were on the show when the Capitals were going up against the Islanders. And then we met in December again. Surprisingly, coincidentally, it was the Islanders game in December. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I've been on with you, the Islanders, right? The last time I was on with you guys?
Yep. So I want to say
yeah, it was. And that's when we were celebrating a Islander win in the playoffs, so Caps over the Islanders. And, oh, boy, it's been a while. But this one this year really stings, I think, for the Caps. I think when you have a season like they had and you fall to the playoffs in a team that you were probably built to beat, and that's how the Caps built their team this year. They built it to beat the Penguins, and then they fall to the Penguins once again. It's going to be a long off season for most.
Yeah, so I'm going to go jump straight into it. What are some of the reasons why the Capitals lost to the Penguins?
I think it comes down to, number one, performance. I think when you look at the team during the regular season, once again, terrific. Had won the President's Trophy, had played in spurts like World Busters. By far, when I looked at every team in the league, I said they were the best team by a long shot. Come to the playoff time, their performance wasn't up to snuff, including the Toronto series. And I think when you look at it, the biggest obstacle the Caps have is trying to raise their level of play from in-season to postseasons, because it's dramatically different, and it's dramatically different in any sport. I don't care if we were talking b-ball or football. It's different come the postseason. You've got to elevate your game. And to be frank, I didn't think they elevated their game as a team and as individuals. And when you don't elevate your game, you're not going to win against a team like Pittsburgh. So there's going to be a lot of soul-searching from the Caps to see how they're able to get over that hump. And to me, it's more mental over physical. How can they get that mental edge to really perform in the playoffs? Because they had the talent, they had the coaching staff. You go down the list of adjectives that are positive, and they had them all. So it has to be performance. And to me, it's being able to take the next little step in your game to elevate that to be successful in the postseason.
Yes, I definitely agree with you on that. Now, I do want to ask you, even though it ended in 7, who on the Capitals played well throughout the 7-game series?
Okay, against Pittsburgh, I would say the guys that played well. I love Nate Schmidt. I loved, let me go through the list of guys here. Schmidt on the back end. I would say Schmidt was my number one star as far as consistency and bringing it every night. I thought the other guys as a group, I can't think of another name off the top of my list other than Kuznetsov. Kuznetsov, too, up front would be my star of the series, along with Nate Schmidt on the blue line. Other than that, I thought we had too many guys perform, for example, in Game 6 like World Busters and World Beaters, and Game 7 through a no-show, didn't really perform up to snuff. So when you have those type of variances in performance, you're not going to be successful. So to me, I would give Nate Schmidt the A, and I would give Kuznetsov the A in performance in Game 7 and throughout the Pittsburgh series, and for that matter, throughout the playoffs.
Now, of course, not only the hockey fans, but the casual hockey fans that were interested in this series. It was a matchup between Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin. Ovechkin and the Capitals have now lost to the Penguins 3 times in the playoffs. With the loss to Sidney Crosby and the Penguins, does this series shed a negative light on Alex Ovechkin right now?
I think from the fans' point of view, it probably does, because it's a great matchup, like we've touted it since they arrived in the National Hockey League. And I think Alex, he has one feather in his cap to now obtain that Sidney Crosby has. Well, a couple, I guess, the gold medal at the Olympics and a couple of Stanley Cups. And I think when you look at Alex Ovechkin, I don't think it was his performance that cost the Caps in the playoffs. But, yeah, he's going to take the brunt of the blame because he's the captain. He's the highest paid player on the team. And so when you look at that, you say, yeah, you got to be the guy in Game 7 of series. I just think the Capitals as a team, and again, hockey is a team sport. I don't put blame on singularity. I put blame on Alex Ovechkin for sure, but I spread the blame throughout the ranks because Alex Ovechkin on his own cannot win a Stanley Cup. He needs everybody else with him. He will go down as a generational goal scorer, one of the best ever. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. No day he retires from the National Hockey League. So I just look at it as I think his supporting cast did not support, and Alex Ovechkin in Game 7 did not have a good game overall. And I'm not sure. I think injury played a part in that. But from a casual hockey fan's point of view, you always want that matchup between Crosby and Ovechkin. It's great for hockey. It's great drama. And unfortunately, it's 3 in a row for Alex Ovechkin of the Caps.
This offseason, what is there to look forward to? I know there's quite a few unrestricted free agents on this team. Who are some of those unrestricted free agents, and who do you think the Capitals will be able to retain?
Yeah, this could be an interesting offseason. I think when you look at the Caps as a whole, it's a retool, not a rebuild, which means that the Capitals, once again, are going to be in the hunt for the playoffs and a hunt for a Stanley Cup. So that starts off to being a positive. It's not going to be an overhaul. The Capitals have a lot of great pieces in place right now. The guys that you're thinking about are TJ Oshie. Can they afford TJ, who was a top 6 player? When he hits the free market July 1st, some team in the NHL is going to give him 5 years, $35 million, $7 million a year. So can the Caps get that under the cap? That's going to be an interesting bargaining chip between McClellan and TJ Oshie's agent. On Carl Alsner's side, I think he's gone. On Kevin Shattenkirk's side, I think he's gone. On Winnick's side, I think he's gone. I think on Justin Williams' side, unless he takes a hometown discount of a contract probably in the $1 million to 1.5 range for a season, he would be retained. If he wants $2 million or more, I think they're going to let him go. The other key signing is going to be Evgeny Kuznetsov. Kuznetsov wants to be a top-paid center. And the money he's going to be asking for is about $8 million per season, which is the max. So you're going to have to really work your math out to fit in like this. I'm not sure they're going to give him that. They might do a bridge deal where they're going to give him, say, $6 million a season for 2, and then have a bridge for the 3rd year coming up. But those are the key pieces that the Capitals have to do a lot of soul searching about over this postseason and into the summer.
Now, I do have a question about Coach Barry Trotz. I personally believe he is a very good coach. I would say he's one of the best in the game in the NHL. However, we do have some fans that are, it's human nature. They see that the Capitals didn't play as well as they should have, and now they're seeing Barry Trotz's former team, the Nashville Predators, onto the conference finals. When it comes to the fans, are the fans happy with Barry Trotz right now?
I say there's some that probably aren't because it trickles down. It goes from the top when you have no success and you don't win a series that you had worked all season to win. So, yeah, there's going to be some disgruntled fans about Barry Trotz, maybe about some of the tactics he used in the playoffs, cutting down to 11 forwards and 7D, some of the things he might have done during the series, and the fact that they didn't win. The thing about Barry Trotz, you nailed it when you asked the question. He's one of the top coaches in the NHL. To me, for my money, he is not going anywhere. I'm not sure they're going to immediately re-up him for years and years because he'll be going into his final year of his contract next year. And I think they just might leave the pressure on him and the team to succeed to the level that we all expect them to. Don't think for a minute that Barry Trotz cannot lead this team to the Stanley Cup. He can, and it's going to come down to that being one of their goals, which it's going to be. So for the time being, Barry Trotz is solid. I expect him to be a long-time coach here in Washington. And I don't look at the success of Nashville, and I don't compare that at all when I'm thinking of Barry Trotz as a coach. He is an elite coach, and he's going to be the guy, I hope, that eventually leads the franchise to the ultimate Stanley Cup.
All right, I have two more questions before we wrap up. Now that the series is over with the Caps, who do you predict will win the Stanley Cup championship this year with the 4 teams remaining?
That's a good one. I like Ottawa, but I also like Pittsburgh. I like the 4 teams. I really think, when I did my NHL pool at the start of the playoffs, I had the Caps versus the Ducks.
Okay.
And I'm really thinking the Ducks, since I picked the Caps to win the Stanley Cup this year, I'm going to go with Anaheim, my other pick that was going to be in the Stanley Cup final, just because they play a nasty game. They're sort of tough. They play on the edge. I think that could be the team, along with Gibson and net. When you have a Corey Perry, when you have guys like Getzlaf, you have the blue line core that they have. I think they might be the team that I would think would win the Stanley Cup.
All right, and one more question. After Wednesday night's Game 7 loss, a lot of fans, of course, on social media, and not just social media. I was out Wednesday night, and a lot of fans were talking about the team and their allegiance to the team. How, before you leave, I want you to basically leave the fan base with some comforting news about the team. How do the fans not jump off the bridge?
I don't think they should. I think as fans, and I turned into a fan, obviously, and have been a fan of hockey for my whole life, in that the fans still have to have be optimistic that, You know what, you look at the Detroit Red Wings, who had lost year after year after year, that it took their great captain and Hall of Famer Steve Yzerman to win the Stanley Cup in his 12th or 13th year of having disappointment after disappointment. I look at history being the future, and that if other teams can have that success, I don't want the fans to jump off the bridge. I think they're so passionate. That's why we're in that frame of mind right now. The Caps fans are some of the most passionate in the game of hockey, and I just believe you've got to stay with it. This team is not rebuilding. They are looking for a Stanley Cup fan. And I think if you understand that it's harder than a lot of people give it credit for to win a Stanley Cup, that let's be optimistic and let's put a team together over the summer by McClellan doing his job to get the players necessary to get this town a champion. And I'm optimistic. I still am. I wasn't, by the way, I will tell you this, I wasn't, by the way, the 24 hours after the Pittsburgh loss. I was devastated. My family was devastated. But now you heal, and I have healed to the point that I can now look forward to next year and be optimistic. That's what being part of a fan is. You have to be optimistic. You have to be passionate that your team will win the championship. So that's my saying to the fans out there.
All right, thank you. I did say that was the last question, but I have one more question. Off topic, Game 7 tonight, Washington Wizards going up against the Boston Celtics. Who wins tonight?
I'm going with John Wall and the Wiz. I think they're going to go on. Yeah, they're going to go on the road. They're going to play in Beantown, and I have a good feeling tonight. And to me, you know what? You can use all the same sayings in basketball as you do in hockey. It's going to come down to their start. They're going to have to get confidence in throwing up the ball, making sure they're hitting. That John Wall hit a couple of threes early on. And then, my boys, I want the Wiz to come home here and look forward to that next round. But I'm picking the Wiz. I'm picking them by 5 tonight. By 5 against the Celtics.
Well, remember the last time a Washington team went to Boston for Game 7? What happened? Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was Knubel's goal, right? Or Ward's goal.
Yeah, Joel Ward. Yep. In
Joel
overtime.
Ward, Mike Knubel. We won it. Yeah.
So hopefully the same thing happens. I'm rooting, of course, for the Washington Wizards to beat the Celtics. Craig, I want to say thank you once again for coming on the show. Hopefully within the season or even during the off season, we could talk even more on this show.
Absolutely, my man. I'd love to be a part of it, and anytime you need me, I'm here for you.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.
All right, buddy. You too.
All right. Thank you. That is Craig Laughlin, color analyst for Comcast Sports Mid-Atlantic for the Washington Capitals. That was a great interview. He's always a cool dude. Just met him randomly at a Caps game, and I just said, hey, you want to come on my sports show? This is when I had only like 200 people watching this show. He said, sure. Here's my number. Here's my email. Call me.
Yeah, he seems super cool.
and he's really cool. And anytime I go to the Caps game, I make sure I definitely see him after the game to just discuss hockey and just whatever's going on. Let's move on to the NBA right now. Talk about real quickly Houston versus San Antonio series that ended on Thursday night. Ended in 6 games. James Harden had a pathetic game. Game 6. He said he was not injured. He just said it was what it was. The team, they lost by like 38 points against the Spurs. This was a Spurs team that did not have Kawhi Leonard because Kawhi Leonard sprained his ankle in game 5. And without, of course, Tony Parker, who is out for the remainder of the playoffs. They really laid an egg at home, and it wasn't just James Harden. Everyone played horrible on that team, but James Harden as the star player, the go-to guy, the MVP candidate. And just a disclaimer out there, I didn't think he was MVP anyway. I was saying all season Russell Westbrook should be MVP. So this playoff series doesn't change my mind that or reassure it. But there are some fans that were like, well, if he played this way, there's no way he could be MVP. One thing I do want to say, the MVP of the NBA is a regular season award. Once the regular season is over, I do not take the playoffs into consideration. The playoffs get taken into consideration for the NBA Finals MVP. But yeah, James Harden didn't play well, and then the optics were not good when he was spotted at a Houston strip club later that night. I do not have a big issue with them going to the strip club, especially where the season's over. I mean, what you want to do? Like, I mean, you want them to get ready for the next game in October. Like, I mean,
who's gonna be mad about that?
I mean, fans, they're so upset. They're like, are you committed? You seem like you're too happy. I mean, it's a strip club. I mean, of course you'll be happy. He's
supposed to be happy. I mean, maybe he's drowning his sorrows.
I mean, that's another thing.
Chill.
Maybe he is, grieving right there. But yeah, a lot of people got real upset. One thing I do want to say, though, there was some fans who were saying, and even media members who were saying, maybe James Harden is trying to show the team that they really need him, that where if he doesn't play well, the team doesn't play well. I don't think James Harden did that. I personally think James Harden had a bad game in the worst situation possible, worst time possible. But James Harden is not the only person that has done that in their career or has had a bad game in a series clinching game. Remember LeBron James?
Yeah, everybody.
In the playoffs against the Boston Celtics?
Not everybody's clutch all the time, and even the clutch guys aren't clutch every moment. Like, come on, man.
Do you remember Kobe Bryant against the Phoenix Suns? I think it was 2008.
Facts.
Where he, in the second half, took 2 shots in the second half of a game 7.
There's nothing in nature that blooms 365 days a year. There's absolutely nothing. So it's just science. It's not happening.
This one's gonna blow everyone's mind when I say this. Do you remember Michael Jordan? I think it was 89 against the Pistons.
Jordan had
where he only scored, I think it was like 10 points, and a lackluster performance. Like it looked like he put no effort. I know that's mind-boggling for people that happened to Michael Jordan. Yes, that happened. Like Michael Jordan wasn't winning championships as soon as he came in the league 84.
Yep.
I mean, it took him a few years to make it out the first round. Like, these things happen to these guys. He didn't play well. Of course, it doesn't look good, but I mean, it doesn't mean that James Harden's a choker. And I think that's what a lot of people were saying. Oh, he's a choker. He's not for real, or he's not really about the game of basketball, things like that. Let's move on quickly to game 1, which was yesterday. San Antonio Spurs against the Golden State Warriors. The San Antonio Spurs were leading by as much as 25 points in that game. At halftime, they were up by 20. In the third quarter, they were up by, I think, also by a score of 20. Kawhi Leonard went up for a jumper, came down on Zaza Pachulia's foot, and you could say the game changed at that moment. And my brother, who was watching game, he was like, why are the Spurs now struggling? And I'm sitting there like, you know what? The best player on their team is out. The offense was going through him. He does so much for that team. So when he is not on the floor, the game plan totally changes. And at that point, the Golden State Warriors went on a 16-0 run to make it close. And then the Warriors ended up winning by 5 points at the end of the game. Warriors, it was not looking good for about 3 quarters. It was not looking good for them. And Kawhi Leonard is not clear if he's going to be ready for the game on Tuesday. Before this series started, I was thinking, it's going to go 6 games. I think it still could go 6 games, but with this injury, I think it's going to go 6 games. And actually, I'm sorry. I think it's going to go 5 games, and the Golden State Warriors are going to win in 5. I think with Kawhi Leonard re-aggravating that ankle injury, that just makes it worse. And it's not like it's a broken bone, in your hand or a broken bone where, you can kind of, if it's not that bad, you can kind of play through it. This is a sprained ankle, ligaments, anything with ligaments, man, that nag, things like that. It's so bad. There's probably big swelling today. So there's constant treatment, and with treatment, your rest schedule isn't going to be as good because you're getting treatment round the clock. So that's going to affect their performance on the floor. I think Spurs, they'll win 1 game during this series. Golden State, they have too many pieces. Steph Curry went for 30-plus points yesterday. Kevin Durant went for 30-plus points yesterday. Draymond Green played great defense, even though LaMarcus Aldridge had a very good game. He played very good defense against LaMarcus Aldridge, just causing him to, not be as comfortable as he wants to be. Patty Mills has to step up for the Spurs. You can't be out here scoring 3 and 4 points when you have he can shoot. He has a deadly jumper from outside, but I think sometimes Popovich doesn't totally trust him, and I think that's why he's not on the floor as much. Now, the young guy Murray, the point guard, he might be the point guard of the future, especially with Tony Parker going down. He's playing pretty well. Jonathan Simmons, good role player, but I think the Warriors is just too much. The Warriors are literally the Western Conference All-Stars, literally.
Yeah.
Steph Curry,
Yeah.
Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green.
So who do you see in the finals?
I mean, at this point, I'm saying the Warriors are definitely making it to the finals.
Agreed.
And that segues to our next topic, where we're going to talk about the Washington Wizards and the Boston Celtics. And you're going to understand why it's a segue when I say this. All right, Game 7's tonight. Game 5, let's go back to Game 5. Boston just smacked the Wizards from beginning to end. Beginning to end. It was the first game of the series where the Wizards did not play well in the first quarter. And honestly, I think they were just like, look, we're so far behind. Let's just go back home to Washington.
Yeah, we might as well conserve the energy. I could see that too. And honestly, the same thing happened, to be fair, like games 3, 4 with
it was like we're down.
Wizards spanked them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
especially after game. Yeah.
It's a great matchup. It's real. It's a good series to watch.
I think the players are real calculated with what they're doing. And they're just like, look, we're already down. It's halftime. We're down by 20 plus, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man. We'll just go back. And Game 6 here at the Verizon Center in the phone booth, that was a classic game.
That was hard.
It was a classic game. Like,
hard.
honestly, It should be played on NBA TV for years. Like, it should be. It was just one of those games.
Yeah.
Where it was just a Eastern Conference semifinal game, but it was a great game. John Wall didn't start out well, and that's why I love John Wall. Didn't start out well, but he kept on pushing. Bradley Beal had 30. I think. How many points did he have? He had a lot of points that game. And you want to hear an interesting fact? In the second half, there were only 3 Wizards players that scored in the second half.
Yeah.
Markieff Morris, Bradley Beal, John Wall.
Yeah.
And pretty much to me, that said, look, we're going to put this team on our back.
Yeah.
And at one point, it was looking real bad for the Wizards.
Yeah, that's a good stat right there.
It was looking real bad. Wizards were down by 3. Bradley Beal had missed his first 7 3-point attempts. Wizards trapped Isaiah Thomas, turnover. Bradley Beal just pulls up 3, top of the key. Boom, it goes in. Game's tied. Then it was a back and forth battle. It was Avery Bradley hit a bucket. Boom. Then Bradley Beal came down, tied it up. Then Horford hit a bucket, went up by 2. John Wall gets the ball, and I think I forgot to give you that highlight, but John Wall gets the ball, pulls up from the wing, hits a 3 to get the 1-point victory over the Celtics. Max, I already know who you say is going to win. We know who you want to win. We know who I want to win.
We'll see, man.
We'll see, man.
Yeah, man, we'll see. It's going to be a good game either way.
It's going to be a good game.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell y'all this. For those living in the area, and for those who are not from the area, if the Wizards win tonight, I think the city will go crazy. This is the biggest game.
It's real. Like neighbors yelling, and it's like you could feel it. I was wearing my Celtics shirt walking down Georgia Avenue this morning. I got a lot of dirty looks.
If the Wizards look, I am turning 30 this year. The Wizards have not won a championship since '78. They haven't gotten this far since I think '80. Actually, they haven't gotten this far since '79. '79 when they went back to the finals and they lost against the Supersonics. They haven't gotten this far. This is the biggest game in Wizards Bullets history. I don't care that it's not a finals game. This is the biggest game. Yeah. Because when they won the finals, the NBA wasn't as popular as it was now. This is the biggest game in Wizards Bullets history right now.
Yeah.
If the Wizards win, my goodness, this city will go crazy. And it brings me to my next point. They'll be going up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, the Cavaliers are undefeated so far in this postseason. I think the Wizards are the only team in the East that can beat the Cavaliers.
It's ambitious.
Oh, yeah, it's cute what you just said. That's ambitious. So, man, if the Wizards win tonight, anything's possible.
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible. Like your boy Kevin Garnett said.
Yeah.
Anything's possible.
Hello, in a real way.
Cool. Oh, that's cold. Quickly, we only got, 2 minutes left?
Yeah.
All right. So, talking about Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett and pretty much most of the players from the 2008 Boston Celtics championship team got together, and there was one person that was not there, and it was Ray Allen. And pretty much Garnett said Ray Allen gotta come back to us and speak to us because he left us to go play for the Miami Heat. You could tell by the way Paul Pierce was speaking, he was just kind of like he felt like he was like hurt, but he wants Ray Allen to come back and be part of the team.
Yeah.
They're out here traveling together. Like that team, they apparently I think they had a vacation or they're going on a vacation soon, and Ray Allen's the only one that's not part of it. Rajon Rondo, of course, didn't really like Ray Allen anyway.
Yeah.
So he was just like, man, good riddance. They're going to honor that team next season, the 10-year anniversary. Do you think Ray Allen should be part of the 10-year anniversary celebration for the Celtics?
I think it'd be great, but there is a lot of, there's some blood with Rondo, and There's I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I feel like he's kind of like the fourth Destiny's Child member at this point.
Look, I was the same person that was not upset that LeBron went to Miami. Now, I was upset Kevin Durant went to Golden State just because of the circumstances, going from his team to the very best team
Yeah.
in the league. I didn't have a problem with Ray Allen going to Miami. And it's crazy because he went to Miami and he pretty much won a series for a finals for them.
Yeah.
He hit that jumper to force overtime, to force a game 7.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he just went over there and he was like, yo, I'm just on this team and I'm going to collect another ring. But I do think Ray Allen should be part of it. Ray Allen also, he has a very, I guess, a strong attitude also, strong personality that he feels like, look, I don't need their permission. I don't need to do this. If they don't want me, I'm not coming. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they do next year. We don't have enough time, but I think next week this story is still relevant. We'll talk about it next week. I want to thank you, Max, for everything that you do. I want to thank Craig Laughlin for coming in and actually had a great interview. Actually, he was more candid than I thought.
Yeah, shout out to Craig. That was a great interview.
Like, he was more candid for someone who literally works for the team. He was definitely more candid than I thought he was going to be. But he's always a great interview. Make sure you follow him on Twitter, Laughlin, LAUGHLIN 18 for 18. He was a great player for the Capitals. Great color analyst for the Capitals also. I want to thank you, Max. I want to thank you, Craig. I want to thank all the listeners and viewers out there. Until next time, everyone, Sports Reality. Peace.
Peace.